got a sexual harassment. And before we
That's an old segment. That was almost the title of this podcast, or I almost wanted to call it this podcast. It was an old segment when we had the White Sox in our regular In the Hole podcast. I think that was just, or it was like a special segment where I would give you shit for your White Sox, or you would give your own White Sox some shit. But I always thought sexual harassment was a hilarious term to use. So you've got some sexual harassment for your own team right now.
I do. And Smitty and I were talking before we got on the air here to do the podcast about, going to some games this spring and summer, and
looking into a couple April games.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, are you already going?" And I'm like, "Well, no, we didn't get our 10-game pass this year." And obviously he was shocked.
I was shocked.
He was shocked. I know. I thought we weren't going to be able to do the podcast. But he pulled it together, and
somehow.
And it turns out, we were looking in tickets, and the White Sox have complicated ticket buying yet again at the ballpark. Another layer has been put on top of everything, and you would think that they, had won the World Series or went deep in the playoffs last year by like raising prices and how the seats are approached, but it's kind of goofy. So what they did is we used to buy lower box seats, and that consisted of sections like one on the third base side.
Yours is in like 126 or something like that, weren't you? Or someplace around there, 135 or
yeah. It was like from one God, I'm trying to remember. Like whatever. It was along the third base line, not in the corners, but like along like
between third base and the pole, maybe.
Very, very actually they were the same section when I had season tickets. So I think those
way
were like
back in the day.
Way back in the day, like
the mid-aughts.
The mid-aughts, yeah, 144 or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And you could get a seat anywhere. If there were tickets available in the first row, you could get them. If there were tickets
I've purchased those before, yes.
Yes. If there were tickets available in the third row, yeah. So you could just use your vouchers for wherever you wanted. Well, now they've decided that only row 25 and back qualify for that seat price.
Fuck that.
And everything in front of that is a higher price. And then,
my God.
Yeah, and they've created pricing tiers within the pricing tiers. And
so what is the incentive for you to buy a 10-game pack? Do you get anything like any kind of benefits?
Well, the if they make the playoffs, you get your dibs on playoff tickets. But no, there is no incentive from a day-to-day basis because one, they're not going to sell out. They're not going to sell out. They're not going to sell out even if they are winning.
It's going to be the end of the summer when they're, fighting for a playoff spot or whatever. That before, I could see that before the fans are totally going to show up and the stadium sold out.
Right.
Opening day will be sold out, but April, May, June, July, even I think you're not going to have any trouble getting a ticket.
As we were also talking about, somebody was asking when I'm going to my first game, and I said the April 6th, the end of the opening homestand, and I have my run of tickets.
You can get anything you want.
Anything I want through the White Sox.
What day of the week is that?
It's a third, and that's why one of the
Thursday
reasons
day game?
it Thursday at 1:10. I mean,
nice.
In April, like that's and there's
you might need your coat,
right? And I can get them on StubHub for even cheaper than through the White Sox. The same seats I want. So it's like what is you guys have now? You've added another layer of complex onto buying tickets at the park for a team that's severely underachieved, thus alienating a fan base that already feels alienated by you from hiring Tony La Russa a few years ago and then completely shitting the bed last year. Yeah. So
what the fuck? You think they would make it easier for you to want to come to games?
Right.
Wow.
Right. I mean,
So you could buy, essentially, you could get the same area of seats that you were used to last year. You just have to pay more for it. Is that how it
yeah,
works?
exactly.
So they really just raised the ticket prices for you.
Yeah. Yeah, they
I mean,
create
what the fuck? 81 and 81 last year. What
I know.
the
And not
most
only
disappointing team in your lifetime.
yes.
Why are you going back at all? This is
Oh,
maybe
well, because
maybe this should be my impromptu asshole question.
well,
How can you go back to your White Sox at all after destroying your life last year? What a miserable fucking experience that was for you. The most disappointing team you've ever had.
that's right.
And
That's
now they're
right.
asking for more money for the same tickets that you had last year.
Well, I mean, I can go back because I can get the tickets for last year's prices on
And
StubHub.
StubHub,
That's
yes.
why I'm not getting a 10-game pass and not committing to it right now.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's your silent protest.
Yeah.
I salute that. I respect that. I think the other kind of White Sox fan just doesn't go and gets angry and
Yeah.
justifiably so and tells the White Sox to fuck off.
What I would say to you too is, and you're 100% correct on. I couldn't even watch. I don't know if you remember us talking about this, but I could barely watch playoff baseball last year because of
Oh,
how upset I
yeah.
was over. Like it actually ruined baseball for me going into the fall. But spring is upon us. A
Oh,
new season. A
hope
new
springs
season.
eternal.
Hope
You
springs
naive little
eternal. A new
son of a
hope.
bitch.
A new hope.
Word Hole Media.